They said love can heal everything. But no one warned me that sometimes the cure hurts worse than the disease. When I walked out of Elijah's life that cold November morning, I thought I was saving both of us. I didn't know I was tearing the heart out of a man who had already lost everything once before. It's been 2 years since then. 2 years since I left that little house in Seattle, clutching the sonogram picture in my trembling hands and telling myself that leaving was the right thing to do. I told myself Elijah deserved better, a life without the chaos that came with me. The scandal, the whispers, the shame. I told myself 1,000 lies to make the truth easier to swallow. I was terrified. Elijah Hart, 34 years old, brilliant cardiac surgeon, loved by everyone except himself. He had a smile that could melt any heart and a temper that could freeze the same 1 second later. And yet, when he looked at me, he was soft. Always soft. Love shouldn't hurt this much, I remember whispering to him the night before I left. His hands were shaking as he bandaged mine again. Another fight, another apology, another kiss that burned too deep to be healed. You think leaving will stop the pain? He said quietly. You think running away will save you from me? I didn't answer. Couldn't. 'Cause deep down I knew he was right. The pain didn't start with him, it started with me. With the fear of being seen, the fear of being loved. And so I ran. I drove all night, past rain-soaked highways and gas station lights, until I reached a nameless town in Montana. A place where no one knew me, no one asked questions. I rented a small cabin near the woods, traded city noise for the sound of wind against pine trees. That's where I decided to raise our child, the life we created on one of those rare nights when everything felt right. Every night, I'd hold the ultrasound picture against my chest, whispering promises to the tiny heartbeat inside me. You'll have a better life. You won't grow up in the shadow of love that hurts. But love has a way of finding you again, no matter how far you run. Because 2 years later, Elijah Hart showed up in that same town not by chance, but by desperation. He'd left his job, his friends, his reputation behind. He'd searched for me in hospitals, shelters, small towns, tracing every possible lead. I didn't know this, of course not, until that afternoon when I saw him standing across the street from the coffee shop where I worked. For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. He looked thinner, older, haunted. The man who once stood proud in a white coat now looked like he'd been walking through storms. Our eyes met through the glass window. And just like that, 2 years of silence shattered into something louder than any scream. He didn't come inside. He just stood there, frozen, his eyes flicking down to the little boy beside me, our son, laughing as he tried to reach for a cookie jar. Elijah's face went pale. He pressed a hand against the glass as if touching it could pull us back through time. I didn't move, couldn't. The bell over the door jingled. "Sam," he said, his voice trembling like a confession. "You're really here." Hearing my name from his lips again felt like both a wound and a cure. "Elijah," I whispered, but the sound broke halfway. He took a hesitant step closer. "That's him." His voice cracked as his gaze shifted to the boy now hiding behind my leg. I nodded slowly. "This is Noah." He blinked back tears, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Noah," he repeated softly, as if tasting the word for the first time. "He looks like you." But he didn't. Noah had Elijah's dark curls, Elijah's stubborn chin, Elijah's eyes, the same ones that once looked at me like I was something worth saving. The silence that followed was unbearable. Finally, I said, "You shouldn't have come." "Then tell me why I shouldn't have." He shot back, voice trembling. "I've looked for you every single day, Sam. Every day. Do you have any idea what it's like to lose the only family you ever wanted?" His words were sharp, cutting through the thin air between us. I wanted to tell him that I'd been scared of the world, scared of what we were. 2 men trying to build a family in a world that barely accepted love between us, let alone a child born of surrogacy and secrecy. "I thought I was protecting him," I murmured. "Protecting him from what?" "From me." I couldn't answer, because deep down, yes, I had been protecting Noah from the man Elijah used to be. The one who drowned himself in work, who disappeared into the hospital for days, who loved too fiercely and broke too easily. But the man standing in front of me now wasn't the same Elijah. His eyes carried regret instead of pride. His hands, once so sure, now trembled when he reached out. "I got sober, Sam," he said quietly. "I left the hospital. I started over. I just needed to find you." The sincerity in his voice hit me like a wave. 2 years ago, I would have laughed, maybe cried. But now, all I could do was stare, torn between the safety I'd built and the love I never stopped feeling. Noah tugged at my sleeve, whispering, "Daddy? Who's that?" I froze. Elijah's eyes softened at the word. He crouched down, his voice gentle. "Hey, buddy. I'm someone who used to know your dad really well." The boy tilted his head, curious. "Did you make him sad?" Elijah's breath caught. He looked up at me, asking for permission, for forgiveness, for something in between. "Yeah," he whispered. "I did. But I'm trying to make it right." And for the first time in years, I didn't stop him. We stood there, 3 broken pieces of a life that once was and maybe, just maybe, could be again. But forgiveness is never simple, especially when love once turned to ashes. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself wondering if love, like medicine, could still heal what time had destroyed, or if some wounds were meant to stay open forever. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of footsteps on the porch. For a second, I thought I was dreaming. Then came a gentle knock. 3 soft taps, careful, hesitant, familiar. My stomach twisted. I knew that rhythm. I opened the door, and there he was, Elijah Hart, standing against the early light like a ghost the sun hadn't decided to burn away yet. He was holding a small paper bag and a toy airplane. "I didn't know what he liked," he said quietly, lifting the toy with a half smile. "So I guessed." I blinked, still half asleep, unsure whether to let him in or shut the door and pretend the world outside didn't exist. "You shouldn't be here," I said, voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not leaving again," he replied. "Not until you talk to me." There was something in his tone, not anger, not demand, but something softer, like a man trying to rebuild a bridge over a river that had long flooded its banks. Behind me, Noah's little feet pattered across the wooden floor. "Daddy, who's that?" Elijah's face lit up in a way that broke me all over again. He knelt down, holding out the toy airplane. "Hey, champ, you like planes?" Noah looked at me for permission. I hesitated, then nodded. Slowly, he stepped forward, accepting the toy like it was the most precious thing in the world. "Say thank you," I murmured. "Thank you," Noah said, shy but smiling. Elijah smiled back. "You're welcome, buddy." Watching them together felt like watching 2 stars align after years of drifting apart. It was beautiful and terrifying. I finally stepped aside. "You can come in." He looked surprised. "Are you sure?" "I'm not sure about anything anymore," I said. "But come in anyway." He crossed the threshold slowly, like stepping into sacred ground. The cabin smelled of coffee and cinnamon, my morning ritual since the day I found out I was pregnant. Elijah glanced around, taking in every detail: the photographs on the mantel, the little socks on the drying rack, the painting Noah made with his handprints. His gaze lingered on the sonogram picture framed above the fireplace. "You kept it," he said softly. "Of course I did." He turned toward me. "You look different, Sam. Calmer." "Different isn't always better," I replied. He smiled faintly. "Maybe not. But it means you survived." That hit harder than I expected, because survival had been the hardest part. The nights I cried alone, the mornings I threw up from stress, not pregnancy. The fear that one day Noah would ask why he didn't have 2 dads like other kids at daycare. Elijah sat down at the small kitchen table, his fingers tracing the rim of a coffee cup I set before him. "You know," he said quietly, "I used to dream about this. Sitting across from you again." Hearing Noah laugh, I just never thought it would actually happen. I didn't respond. My heart was doing that thing it always did around him, remembering too much. He took a sip and sighed. "I deserved it, didn't I? You leaving." I looked at him, startled. He met my eyes. "I wasn't the man you needed. I worked too much, drank too much, loved you like a problem I could fix instead of a person I could cherish. I see that now. Elijah. No, he said firmly. Let me say this. I spent years saving other people's hearts, Sam. But I never learned how to save my own. And when you left, I finally realized why. I swallowed hard. The weight of his confession pressed against the silence between us. Outside, the wind rustled the trees. Inside, time felt suspended, two broken men sitting in the soft light of morning, holding the fragile pieces of what used to be love. Noah's laughter broke the spell. He was playing with the airplane, spinning in circles near the window. Elijah watched him with a look I couldn't decipher: pride, sorrow, awe, maybe all of it. He deserves to know the truth, Elijah said after a while. I tensed. He's too young. He's old enough to know that he's loved, Elijah countered. By both his fathers. The word fathers hung in the air like a prayer. I wanted to argue, to push him away again. But the truth was, I was tired of fighting ghosts. So I nodded slowly. Maybe someday. Elijah's expression softened. Someday's enough for me. He stayed that morning longer than he should have, shorter than he wanted to. Before he left, he asked quietly, "Can I come back tomorrow? Just to see him. To see both of you." Something inside me trembled, the part that still believed in second chances. "Yes," I whispered. "Tomorrow." When he was gone, the cabin felt too quiet. Noah climbed into my lap, clutching the toy airplane. "Daddy?" he asked. "Is he nice?" I smiled faintly. "Yeah, baby. He's nice. He's someone who used to make me very happy. And now." I looked out the window, where Elijah's figure disappeared down the road. "Now," I said softly, "he's trying to again." The days that followed were like stepping into a memory that didn't know it was still alive. Every morning, Elijah came by. Sometimes he brought breakfast, sometimes books for Noah, sometimes just himself. He helped fix the broken fence, chopped firewood, cooked dinner on days I worked late. He didn't push, didn't pry, just existed quietly beside us, like a ghost learning how to breathe again. And slowly, I started to let him. One evening, we sat by the lake as the sun melted into orange light. Noah was tossing stones into the water, counting how many times they skipped. Elijah glanced at me, his face painted with the gold of sunset. "He's incredible," he murmured. "He's you," I said without thinking. He smiled sadly. "No, Sam. He's us." The words hit like music I'd forgotten I loved. I didn't notice his hand until it brushed against mine, tentative, trembling, warm. My instinct was to pull away, but this time I didn't. I let it stay. We sat like that, silent, steady, the world shrinking down to the space between our fingers. "I still love you," Elijah said suddenly, voice raw. "I don't expect you to say it back. I just needed you to know." I turned to him, heart pounding. "You shouldn't say that." "Why not?" "Because it's dangerous." He gave a soft, sad laugh. "So is breathing, but we still do it." I wanted to hate him for that, for making everything sound so easy. But the truth was, I missed the way his words used to make the world feel bigger. That night, after Noah was asleep, Elijah stayed a little longer. We talked about the past, about the night I left, about the fights, the fear. He didn't justify anything. He just listened, really listened. And for the first time in years, I let myself cry. He didn't move closer, didn't try to fix it. He just stayed there, his hand resting gently over mine. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for everything." I looked at him through blurred vision. "I know." And in that small, broken moment, forgiveness didn't feel impossible anymore. But the world, cruel as it is, never stays still for long. One afternoon, while I was at work, Elijah picked Noah up from daycare. The teacher didn't question it after all. Noah had talked about the other daddy for weeks now. They went to the park. Elijah bought him ice cream. They laughed, took photos, played catch. And for a while it was perfect. Until an old colleague of Elijah's, a surgeon from Seattle, spotted them together. "Dr. Hart?" the man said in disbelief. "I thought you moved to Boston. What are you doing here?" Elijah froze. He hadn't expected to be recognized. Not in this small town. The man's gaze shifted to Noah. Is that your son? Elijah hesitated. He's my family. By the next day, it was all over social media, rumors of a disgraced surgeon hiding away, whispers about the child, speculation about me. When I came home that evening, Elijah was pacing on the porch, his phone buzzing nonstop. Sam, he said the moment he saw me. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. My stomach dropped. What did you do? He explained, every word sinking like a stone in my chest. The fear I'd buried for 2 years came roaring back. The shame, the judgment, the same world that made me run once before now knocking at my door again. Elijah, I said, shaking my head, you promised me peace. I know. I'll fix it. No, you can't fix this. I snapped. This is why I left. This right here, the chaos that follows you everywhere. He flinched like I'd hit him. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Only the sound of Noah's laughter from inside, oblivious to the storm outside. I'm sorry, he said again, voice breaking. I just wanted to be part of his life. And now everyone knows, I whispered. They'll come for us again. They'll judge him, judge me. He stepped forward, eyes pleading. Then let them talk, Sam. I'm not hiding anymore. Not from them. Not from what we are. But I wasn't ready to be brave yet. Not when courage came with a price I'd already paid once. So I turned away, tears burning. You should go. Elijah froze. Please don't do this. Go, Elijah. And just like that, history repeated itself, only this time it wasn't me who ran. He did. He walked away, leaving the toy airplane sitting on the porch, its little wings catching the last light of the setting sun. And I stood there, heart breaking all over again, wondering if love was meant to heal or just to teach us how to live with the scars. The next few weeks were silent. Elijah stopped coming by. No more footsteps on the porch, no more paper bags of pastries, no quiet laughter beside morning coffee. The cabin felt emptier than it ever had before, not just because he was gone, but because he had finally been there. And now Noah noticed. Daddy, he said one night as I tucked him in, his small voice muffled under the blanket. Where's the man who gave me the airplane? I froze, fingers tightening around the edge of the sheet. He's busy right now, I said softly. Is he coming back? I smiled the way people do when they don't want to cry. I don't know, baby. Noah blinked sleepily, then whispered, I hope he does. You smile when he's here. And just like that, I broke. I leaned down, kissed his forehead, and whispered, good night, my heart. But sleep didn't come easily for me that night. I kept replaying Elijah's face, the look in his eyes when I told him to leave. The same eyes that once begged me to stay. Maybe I had been wrong again. Maybe all this time I wasn't protecting Noah, maybe I was just protecting myself. Because loving Elijah had always meant facing the world, and I had never been brave enough for that. Days bled into weeks, and then one rainy afternoon, everything changed again. I was finishing my shift at the diner when I heard the sirens. 2 ambulances, speeding down the road toward the county hospital. Nothing unusual, I thought, until my phone rang. It was Claire, a nurse friend who sometimes helped out at the small clinic nearby. Her voice was shaky. Sam, you need to come. It's Elijah. For a moment, the world just stopped. The rain outside blurred into streaks of silver as I drove, my hands trembling on the wheel. Every red light felt like a lifetime. When I finally reached the hospital, Claire was waiting near the entrance, soaked and pale. He's okay, she said quickly, seeing the fear on my face. He's stable. It was a car accident, someone ran a stop sign. He swerved to avoid a child. My knees nearly gave out. He's been asking for you, she added quietly. The hallway felt endless as I walked toward his room. My heartbeat drowned out everything else, the hum of machines, the chatter of nurses, the storm outside. When I stepped inside, he was there, pale, bruised, one arm in a sling, a cut across his forehead. But his eyes were alive. Sam, he breathed when he saw me, like the word itself hurt. You came. I didn't trust my voice. I just nodded, stepping closer until I was standing beside his bed. He smiled faintly, trying to sit up, wincing. Guess I couldn't stay away from the drama. Huh? You're an idiot? I whispered, tears spilling before I could stop them. A stupid, stubborn idiot. Yeah, he said softly. But at least now you're here to tell me that. He reached out his uninjured hand, fingers trembling. I hesitated, then took it. His palm was warm, steady, real. I thought you were gone, he murmured. I thought I lost you both again. I shook my head, tears dripping onto his blanket. I should have never told you to go. No, he said, his voice hoarse but certain. You had every right. I hurt you. I hurt us. But Sam, I've spent every day since trying to be someone who deserves you. You don't have to prove anything, I said. Not anymore. He smiled weakly. Maybe not, but I still want to. And in that quiet hospital room, surrounded by rain and antiseptic and everything that once broke us, I finally let go. I leaned down, pressing my forehead against his, and whispered, "Come home, Elijah." The next morning I brought Noah. He ran straight to Elijah's bedside, clutching his toy airplane. "You didn't break it," he said proudly, holding it up. Elijah laughed, the kind of laugh that starts in the chest and ends in the eyes. "Nope, still flying strong." "Daddy says you're hurt," Noah said solemnly. "But you look okay." Elijah smiled. "I will be, now that you're here." I stood by the door, watching them, my son sitting at the edge of the bed, Elijah pretending to fly the little airplane above him. The sound of their laughter filled the sterile white room, and for the first time in years, it felt like home wasn't a place. It was this. Elijah stayed in the hospital for a few more days, long enough for the bruises to fade and the gossip to die down. By the time he was discharged, the story had lost its teeth. People moved on. The world mercifully stopped looking. When we drove him home to our home, he sat in the passenger seat, looking out the window at the familiar stretch of pine trees. "You sure about this?" he asked quietly. I smiled, keeping my eyes on the road. "Not even a little." He laughed softly. "Good. Me neither." When we reached the cabin, Noah ran ahead, shouting, "This is where we live." Elijah followed him in, moving slower, still healing. He looked around as if seeing it for the first time, the little fireplace, the pictures, the smell of coffee. His eyes landed on the empty space on the mantel. "You took the sonogram picture," he said. I nodded. "I put it away the day I left. But maybe it's time to bring it back." He smiled, eyes glistening. "Yeah, maybe it is." We stood there for a moment, silent except for Noah humming in the next room. Then Elijah turned to me. "Sam," he said softly, "I know I can't erase what I did or what we lost, but if there's even a chance we can start again, I want to try. For him. For us." I took a slow breath. "Then start with dinner." He blinked. "Dinner?" I handed him an apron. "Yeah. You burn it, you're sleeping on the porch." He laughed, really laughed, and it felt like sunlight after a long winter. That night, we ate together by the fireplace. Nothing fancy, just soup and bread, but it tasted like peace. Noah fell asleep on the couch halfway through his cartoon, the airplane still clutched in his hand. Elijah and I sat side by side, watching the fire flicker. "Do you ever think," he said quietly, "that maybe everything had to fall apart so it could come back together like this?" I thought about it, the years of silence, the heartbreak, the fear, the long road that brought us here. "Maybe," I said, "or maybe we just got lucky." He turned to me. "No, Sam. We fought for this. You fought for this." I smiled faintly. "We both did." He reached over, brushing his thumb along my cheek. "I still love you." This time I didn't tell him not to say it. I just whispered back, "I know." And when he kissed me, it wasn't desperate or rushed or haunted by what we'd lost. It was slow, tender, like two people finally finding their way back home. Months passed. The world turned quiet again. Elijah took a job at the small county clinic, not as a surgeon, but as a family doctor. He said he wanted to start from the heart outward this time. Sometimes, I'd stop by during my lunch break, watching him talk to patience, gentle and patient and human. The man who once lived for perfection now lived for people. Noah grew fast, too fast. One evening, he came running in from the yard, waving a piece of paper. "Look, I drew our family." We both leaned over the crayon, drawing 3 stick figures under a blue sky, holding hands. Above them, in crooked letters, he'd written me, Daddy, and Dad. Elijah looked at me, smiling through tears. He gave me a title. I laughed softly. "You earned it." And that night, as we tucked Noah in, Elijah whispered, "You know, I used to think love was something that consumed you, but maybe it's something that builds you instead." I looked at him, heart full. "Then I guess we're finally building something right." He took my hand, interlacing our fingers. Yeah, together. Outside, the world was still the same, messy, judgmental, unpredictable. But inside that small cabin by the lake, the world was enough. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about the day I left, the sound of rain on the windshield, the ache in my chest, the fear that I'd never see him again. And now, when the same rain falls on our roof, I look across the room at Elijah asleep beside me, at Noah's soft breathing from the next room, and I realize something simple, something true. I didn't run away that day. I just took the long road home. Because love, real love, isn't about never leaving. It's about finding your way back, no matter how far you've gone. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.